world of the WWE is a fairly simple one. It's a world where you put one person to take on another person or one team against another team, and you have them duke it out in the ring to see who the better team or the better individual is. But sometimes we need to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavor. Maybe the storyline requires that they take it to a whole nother level. And that's where the match stipulations come in. And not all match stipulations are created equal. Some are awesome, some are pretty garbage, if I'm being honest with you. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at some of WWE's most popular match stipulations and just reviewing them. And hey, as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident you're going to fall in love with this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's start this off with a goodie, the WWE ladder match. I haven't gotten into Money in the Bank ladder match or anything like that. This is just the good old ladder match. And I really like this stipulation because it adds a level of verticality that typically isn't there with a lot of WWE matches. A lot of the times it's just everybody on the same playing field. There might be a little bit of verticality with one person jumping from the top rope to the other, but the ladder adds an entirely different dynamic of verticality. On top of that, it adds an interesting weapon into the ring, and it also can be used to tell a fairly interesting narrative as well. Now, sometimes the narrative gets a little bit cheesy, which is pretty much always like this. It's the babyface struggling to climb to the top. Oh my goodness, this is so hard to climb up a ladder, only for the, the heel to come in last second. And usually when it's a heel climbing, they climb up fairly fast, and then the face comes out of nowhere to make the save. So, sometimes the narrative can be interesting that way, but sometimes it can be pretty cheesy like that too. More often than not, the ladder match also has big stakes at play because there usually is a title up there, whether it's a tag title, mid-card title, or even a world title. There is a lot at stake in that match, and I think, again, that adds to the drama of things. And I love the ladder match as well because it usually forces a typical ground and pound WWE superstar like a Sheamus or the Undertaker to fall out of their comfort system and give us a different type of moveset that we haven't seen before. I think a great example of this is all you have to do is go watch Jeff Hardy versus the Undertaker ladder match in 2002, and you'll be absolutely blown away by the moveset that Undertaker is forced to do in that ladder match. But yeah, overall, the ladder match gets a thumbs up from me. I think it's a really fun stipulation. It adds a lot. There's almost always drama, and there's usually a really awesome spot. What I will say is that in recent years, it hasn't done a great job of helping putting an end to a blood feud, right? This doesn't feel like the exclamation mark towards, hey, this feud is for sure over. We're not going beyond this, because I don't know, the fact that you win by grabbing something as opposed to putting somebody down for good really doesn't add to, I guess, the finality of the feud. So that's one of the downsides of this type of match. But other than that, I love this match type. The Money in the Bank ladder match. Basically, just take everything that I said about the ladder match and multiply it by 5, sometimes 6, because you get all of the awesome spots of a regular ladder match, but now you have 5, 6 dudes or girls in there doing them. This match will typically go on for 20 to 30 minutes, and pretty much the entire time from beginning to end, it is an absolute incredibly fun car wreck. And more often than not, there's somebody in this match that isn't, like a top main event, mainstay, main eventer that usually comes out looking like $1 million. And that's the beauty of a match like this, is that it can be used to showcase up and coming talent. On top of that, the stakes of this match are huge. This sets the pace of WWE television for the next 12 months, depending on who wins this, because it impacts the narrative of just about every single PLE and every single weekly show, depending on who's holding that briefcase. So yeah, Money in the Bank ladder match also gets a thumbs up from me. Hey, this video is brought to you by everyone over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Those are the individuals that are helping keep the lights on and the mics on. You already get daily wrestling content here, but if you want even more wrestling content, come check out the Patreon. I've made it the top link in the description. Just click it and go have a look and see what different tiers we have and if any of them work for you. The cheapest tier is the tier that gets you all of the extra content, which is the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, Wrestling is Cool Plus, which is an extra podcast. You also get Monday Night Raw reviews, Friday Night SmackDown reviews, the monthly mailbags. You get our monthly watch along. We're going to do some wrestling gaming content on there. So there's a lot coming to that Patreon, and there's already a lot there. So go check it out. Just have a look. And if anything interests you, toss me a few bucks my way and you'll get even more wrestling content. But thank you very much. Either way, cheers. Back to the video. The table match. I love tables, and I'm one of those people that is chanting, get the tables. We want tables. I want tables. But a tables match has never really done it for me. I think that there's just something weird about the concept of winning by putting somebody through the table. It never feels satisfying when, you know, the breaking of the table is used to win the match as opposed to using it to try and hurt somebody, like how it's typically used in like an Extreme Rules match or a TLC match, for example. And because the tables match typically involves winning by putting somebody through the table, it usually means that we only get one table spot typically. Meanwhile, something like a TLC match, we could see 5-6 different tables being broken, but in a table match, you're guaranteed to only have one being broken, because once that one is broken, the match is over. So I would say that I don't particularly love the stipulation. I think it's too one-dimensional, I would say. I think it's very one-dimensional, and I think it limits what the guys and the girls are actually able to do in the ring, because everything that they're doing ultimately doesn't matter until you get the table involved and put somebody through it. So I don't love this match stipulation. I'm going to give it a thumbs down. We kind of just talked about it, the TLC match, which stands for tables, ladders, and chairs. And I would say that this is the peak of WWE Extreme, because you get the drama of the ladder match, right? You have to climb up to get the thing that you're there to win. You get the gruesomeness of tables and chairs, and you put them all together and you have one of the most beautiful symphonies of chaos that you could possibly imagine. Many people consider a TLC match, in fact, TLC matches are often in the conversation for some of the best matches of the year, and in some cases, some of the best matches of all time. Look at the TLC match at WrestleMania 17. I will say that the TLC stipulation, in my opinion, works better in multi-man, like even like the tag team scenario, as opposed to just one-on-one, because having it just be one-on-one, it limits the chaos to just those two. But having, you know, 8 men in there, like, you know, a 4-way tag team match, for example, or a 3-way tag team match, you have chaos coming from every single corner. So that's the type of TLC match that I prefer, the one that involves multiple people in it. And by multiple people, I mean more than 2. So yeah, I love the TLC match. It gets an absolute thumbs up for me. Now we just need to find a way to get us more TLC matches without just doing it at a TLC pay-per-view. I think that we as fans deserve TLC matches at just like regularly named PLEs. The cage match. I'll be honest, I don't love cage matches. To me, they are weird. And I think one of the weirdest things about the cage match is the fact that you can win by just opening the door and walking out. I've always thought that that was stupid. I don't even mind the concept of winning by escaping the cage, but climbing it should be the only way to escape the cage, not opening the door and walking out. Because if walking out is an option, then why would you ever take the option of climbing out? That's just stupid. My other gripe with the cage match is that I feel like sometimes it limits what WWE superstars are actually able to do in the ring because of the confinement of the cage, but that doesn't happen every time. Like sometimes you do have really versatile cage matches. For example, a really recent one being Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus at what was it, Payback. So the cage match can be really good, but honestly, for every one great cage match, I feel like I see 2 or 3 really boring ones. So I gotta be honest, I don't love the cage match stipulation. To me, it gets a thumbs down. Well, maybe one cage doesn't do it for you, but what about 2 in War Games? I think War Games does everything that the cage match is supposed to do, which is like the confinement and the chaos within that confined area without limiting people to the very small space given to you by a regular cage. I think extending it to 2 rings and covering the 2 rings in the cage really allows for WWE superstars to utilize their full move set of grappling moves, of submission moves, of ring rope moves, of top rope moves. Like it really doesn't limit them in any capacity, which is nice. I've heard some people complain that they don't like the fact that it's not an elimination match, that it's, you know, one pinfall wins it for the entire team. I think that's just a matter of preference. I don't particularly hate it. I think an elimination War Games would be pretty neat. I think that'd be pretty interesting, but I think the way that it's set up with every team, every member of a team having to be in the actual match itself before the match actually starts, and the first pinfall or submission winning the match, I think that's totally fine as well. But if I had to pick between this and a cage match, I will take this 10 out of 10 times. I love War Games. It gets a thumbs up for me. The Elimination Chamber match. I gotta be honest with you, I've traditionally hated the Elimination Chamber match. I've never personally enjoyed it, but the last couple of Elimination Chamber matches have been absolute bangers and have made me reconsider my thought on this match. Because before, just like the cage match, I just thought that it was a very limiting environment that wasn't as chaotic as the WWE made it out to be. And one of my problems is the actual pods themselves kind of blocking every single corner, preventing a WWE WWE superstar from actually like going all the way around uninterrupted. I think that kind of is what stops a bit of the match flow, and also the inability of climbing to the top of the pod and jumping off in the earlier iterations of the Elimination Chamber because the roof was too low. But nowadays they've completely fixed that by making the roof much higher. Is it roof or ceiling? Correct me in the comments. I'm not sure how to say that. But now the way that it's structured, I think it's a lot better. I still think it's fairly limiting in terms of what you're able to do outside of the ring, but these WWE superstars have been absolutely knocking it out of the park in recent years with Elimination Chamber matches. So I've seen more recent good Elimination Chamber matches than bad, so it gets a thumbs up for me. The Hell in a Cell match, and this picture is fucking awesome. Yeah, the Hell in a Cell match is a W. It's a W all around. It has all of the good things of a cage match, which is the enclosureness, the fact that nobody is supposed to be able to get in, it's supposed to be an intimate car wreck between the two people that are in there without limiting them the way that the cage match does by actually allowing them to go outside of the ring, allowing them to even like climb to the top, fight on the outside. So I love the Elimination Chamber match, not Elimination Chamber match, the Hell in a Cell match. And it also does feel like, hey, this is the culmination of a feud. Unlike a cage match, I don't feel like the cage match has that feeling, but the Hell in a Cell match, on the other hand, I think does have the feeling of like, hey, this is where it's all colliding. Like, this is where we're meeting. This is where our most gruesome, most violent match is going to take place. I love Hell in a Cell. Gets a thumbs up from me. If I had to give a negative about the Hell in a Cell, is how often it was used throughout the 2010s, with there being usually like 3 or 4 Hell in a Cell matches per year, because there was a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that would always have 2 or 3 Hell in a Cell matches. When before, in the Ruthless Aggression era and in the late Attitude era, the Hell in a Cell, Jesus, I can't talk today. The Hell in a Cell was used very seldomly. It was, if we were lucky, we would get it once a year. Sometimes we wouldn't get it that year at all. But in recent memory, it's been used so often that I think it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster, but I still like the match type. The Punjabi Prison match. Just look at this picture. Imagine paying to go to this and not being able to see jack shit. This match stipulation sucks balls. Hopefully they never bring it back. The fact that there is more than one Punjabi Prison match that exists is absolutely egregious. Get rid of this and never bring it back. Like 35 thumbs down. The Royal Rumble match. Who doesn't love the Royal Rumble? The Royal Rumble is one of the most exciting match types in the WWE, and unlike its Battle Royal counterpart, I love the fact that the ring is in full with all 30 people all at once. I like the fact that it fills in slowly because it actually allows WWE superstars to have their regular moveset in the ring, and it also allows for little micro feuds to happen within the actual match itself, micro feuds that usually end up leading to WrestleMania feuds. So the Royal Rumble match is awesome. Thumbs up. I kind of just talked a little bit about the Battle Royal match. I don't like Battle Royal matches, even though it's the same rule set as the Royal Rumble match, in that you have to win by getting everybody over the top rope and being the last person standing. But as you can see, like, what can you do in this environment? There's nothing that you can do here. So I don't love the Battle Royal match. It's also like way too predictable how it starts, where it's like, okay, the ring is so full, there's just so many people in here. Okay, every single jobber gets out within the first 30 seconds. So I don't love the Battle Royal match. It gets a thumbs down for me. Okay, the next 3 are basically the same match, just in a different environment. So we have the ambulance match, we have the buried alive match, and we have the casket match. Yeah, sure, they all have different names and they all have different things involved, but they are the same match. It is get your opponent inside a particular item or place. All right, that's basically what all 3 of these matches are. They just change the name based on what that item is. In the ambulance match, you have to get them in the ambulance. In the buried alive match, you have to get them into the ground. And in the casket match, you have to get them into the casket. Like, literally, that's the same match. It is the exact same match. And I don't love it. I don't love the concept of you win by getting somebody in the ground. I don't know, or inside an ambulance or inside a casket. I don't know. I don't know if this might just be me, but I think that this type of match sequence is lame. I don't love it. So it gets 3 thumbs down for me because there's 3 of them. The fight pit match. See, I think that this is what the cage match should be. I like the fight pit match because this actually feels like a place where you would put 2 guys or 2 girls that need to have their blow off match, their final match, their rubber match. I could definitely see it happening in the fight pit as opposed to like a cage. And it has that real fight feel because they remove the rope, so it kind of has that MMA style feel. It also has that like second level to allow for crazy things to happen from up high. So the overall idea of the fight pit match, I really like. Does it limit people because of the lack of ropes? Sure, I would agree. I would agree with that. But I think what we lose in the ropes, we gain in, you know, the intimacy and the storytelling that is given to us by the fact that these two guys and girls are just in a cage and are forced to just fight one another and beat the hell out of each other. I like the fight pit match. It gets a thumbs up from me. The Inferno match. Look, I'm gonna ruin your facade of the Inferno match because the Inferno match looks really cool, but it's just a regular match where you aren't allowed to leave the ring. That's pretty much it. There are variations of the Inferno match where you lose if you catch on fire, but for the most part, every Inferno match that we've had, it's just a regular match in the ring, and you can't go outside because there's fire. I don't like this. It gets a thumbs down from me. The I Quit match. I like the I Quit match, but there is one problem that I have with it, is that the only person in that match that will actually quit in like a fair manner is the bad guy. The good guy will only ever say I quit if they are forced to say I quit through some other means, like for example Edge when they were about to bash in his wife's head in, or for example Mankind where there was that stupid silly like recording of him that said I quit. So there's always shenanigans in the way that the good guy loses. Like the good guy just never seems to just say I quit outright, and I don't like that. But the match itself, I love. I absolutely adore I Quit matches. I think that out of all the matches that I've talked about, like in terms of like being a personal blood feud, like this is how you finish it, an I Quit match. I think I Quit matches are a ton of fun, but I do have that concern about them in that the only person that ever quits regularly is the bad guy, and the good guy always has to quit under nefarious means. So it still gets a thumbs up for me though. The Last Man Standing match. Remember everything that I just said about the I Quit match? It's kind of the same here, where the bad guy is the one that will usually lose the Last Man Standing match through clean means, but the good guy, if they're ever held down for more than 10 seconds, something absolutely bananas had to have happened to them. For example, Brock Lesnar had to be attacked by like 6 people, had to have tables flipped on him. Like it gets sometimes silly that the good guy just refuses to lose in a normal manner that the bad guy will lose. So again, I lose a little bit of the, I guess, the realism aspect of it that I try to put myself in when I'm watching wrestling. But hey, again, that's a nitpick because the Last Man Standing match is honestly just like the I Quit match, is an absolutely fantastic blow off match. Last Man Standing matches for the most part are always just fucking awesome. I love Last Man Standing matches. They get a thumbs up from me. Ooh, here's a unique one. The Firefly Fun House match. Officially, it only ever happened once between The Fiend and John Cena at WrestleMania 36, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I wish that Bray Wyatt had done more Firefly Fun House matches. For example, I think it would have been very fitting for him to do a Firefly Fun House match with Randy Orton, retrospecting the career of Randy Orton. A Firefly Fun House match with Braun Strowman, retrospecting the career of Braun Strowman. I think it would have been absolutely brilliant, and it was so unique to have a match like this that was cinematic but supernatural, but also just had a regular finish with a pin. I love this. I loved everything about the Firefly Funhouse. I think my only gripe is that it only ever happened once. The strap match. I always go back and forth between the strap match because I always feel like out of all of the matches that I've listed here, this is probably the one that limits a wrestler's moveset the most. But more often than not, I see wrestlers get really creative with the strap, leading to it being usually a pretty awesome match. Like I really like, for example, The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan at Royal Rumble 2020, I think it was. I thought that was a brilliant strap match. There's also the variation of the 4 corner strap match. You can also do it that way. I like that too. That, don't get me wrong, but I like just kind of like the traditional strap match. Overall, I'll give the strap match a thumbs up because it forces WWE superstars to get really, really creative with their moveset, and more often than not, that creativity leads to some pretty awesome holy shit moments. So I like the strap match. All right, that's it. Thank you very much for watching this, and get out of here.